Welcome to the movie club, the first movie club in that format. We set out the challenge a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, to watch all 10 movies nominated for Best Picture at this year's Oscars before the Oscars, or pretty much before today, because today is when we talk about it, March 9th, Thursday. The Oscars are in 3 days on Sunday. And before we jump into the movies, I just want to welcome James and Josh. Thanks for joining. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and let us know how many of the movies you have watched.
Hi, my name is Josh Greathouse. I'm the creator of Bang, the Ballad of the Tiger. And as of this moment, I've officially watched 0 out of 10 of these films.
It's consistent with your book club appearances.
I won't lie though, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, I do want to watch. The others, I'm like,
My name is James, and I watched all 10 movies.
It's awesome. I'm Thorsten, and I have also watched all 10 movies. I started out when I posted this challenge 3 weeks ago with having watched none of them. And creating the movie club was basically a motivation for me to actually watch them. I had never watched all 10 nominated, or back in the day when it was like 5 movies nominated, never watched all of them. So just to make the Oscars more fun, kind of set the challenge out to myself to watch all 10. And it's a little miracle that I actually watched all 10, because some were only available to watch in a theater. Didn't really have time to go there, but I somehow made it work. So watched 10 movies over the course of the last 3 weeks. If you add all the show times up, it's 4 minutes short of 24 hours. So you still can watch all of them, Josh, before Sunday if you want to, and don't sleep. You get 4 minutes of restroom break in between.
I was about to say, if we do the math, with me being here, we're at a 66% because I am bringing down the class.
No, you'll play devil's advocate and you let us know if our review, by the way, spoilers for all those 10 movies, if our review makes sense to someone who hasn't watched any of the movies. But yeah, that was the challenge. I watched one movie. I had to watch Avatar at the theater because it wasn't available for streaming. I watched it in 3D. And the other one, Women Talking, was initially only available in the theater until James posted the link to video on demand about a week ago. Yeah, so I could actually refund my theater ticket and not make it a whole like 1 hour drive watching a movie that I would have otherwise never watched and then drive back. So I could just stream it at night after the kids were sleeping. But yeah, let's jump right in. So first movie, we go alphabetically, and then we can discuss later what we think should win and what we hope would win, and kind of rate those.
Before we start in, do you want to list the 10 films, what they are?
Yes, for sure. So we have All Quiet on the Western Front. It's the only foreign movie nominated. That's also the only Netflix movie nominated. Avatar: The Way of Water by James Cameron. The Banshees of Inisherin. Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Fabelmans. Tar. Top Gun: Maverick. Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. And as I said, they used to nominate only 5 for the last, 5-6 years, or maybe longer. Might be messing up timelines there, but they've been nominating 10, which makes this more unpredictable and interesting.
I do feel like, so if they had to narrow it down to 10, I'm just throwing this out here because I feel like Top Gun, Avatar, Elvis would not be on, maybe Everything All at Once might not be on that list. I'm not saying that's a right or wrong, but those seem like the not your typical Oscar choices.
Avatar 1 was on the list when it came out.
And everyone was disappointed that it didn't win, right? Like everyone was like, how could this not have won? And then James Cameron's ex-wife won the Oscar instead. For, I forgot the name of the movie. It was fairly more unknown movie. I haven't watched it.
The Hope Walker?
I think that's the one. So everyone was surprised that Avatar didn't win. I mean, I think Titanic won, right? Like the big productions in the past won, but I think that has changed over the last 5 to 6 years, ever since they kind of expanded who the Academy is. Like, I think like who's voting on those. Like, it's the other thing, right? Like, who decides actually who wins the Oscars? Like 9,500 people that are working in the industry, and I think they, over the last 5 years, they have made those more international. So there's more international representation, which might have also shifted what kind of movies are winning nowadays versus like a decade or 2 decades ago. Because all the big productions in the past used to win. But I agree, over the last few years, like, I don't think anyone had Coda on their list, or Parasite, when it came to the previous 2 winners.
I didn't watch that movie.
I haven't either yet, but I know they were like fairly like smaller productions compared to what was nominated. But yeah. Cool. So All Quiet on the Western Front in German, that's Im Westen nichts Neues. I actually watched that movie in German because I was like, oh, why not?
Yeah, I didn't know it was in German. When I hit play, it's played in English on Netflix.
Yeah, they usually don't do those. They usually do subtitles, right? But this one, they actually had a voiceover, or like not voiceover, like dubbed it.
Yeah, well, that's how I watched it, the dub.
I was about to say, because All Quiet on the Western Front is a book.
Yep, there was initially a newsletter article in 1928, then they published it as a book in 1929. They did a movie adaptation in 1930 that won Best Oscar. Then I think a British production did another adaptation in the 70s, late 1979, and that won the Golden Globe for Best Television Movie, because that one wasn't released in a theater, so it couldn't win an Oscar. I think I remember I was forced to watch one of them in high school. It wasn't ages ago, but I think it was the British one, the 1979 production, because I remember it was in color. So, and the 1931 is a black and white movie. I ended up not really liking that one back then. So I can't compare, but I know the book was very successful. And this one, actually, that's my biggest criticism of this movie, is that it goes so far from the book, from the source material. It kind of changes the message that the movie tells you. So if you don't know about the book or the previous adaptations, then you probably watch that movie a little bit differently. So James, what do you think about that movie?
I thought it was an anti-war, is it? Like, not to go to war? If you go to war, you die?
Yeah, I think it portrays the trauma of war pretty good. Like, it definitely...
It didn't hide nothing. You saw the bodies, missing body parts, blood, everything.
Production value, it looks pretty nasty. It's from that regards, I understand why it's nominated. It's very realistic. It shows you the war in the trenches, basically the German and French army not really moving in either direction over the course of 3, 4, 5 years. I think 3 or 4 years, until I guess the French or whoever, like I think the US supported them, but I don't know who brought the tanks. But once they brought the tanks in, there was I guess the invention of World War I or a few years prior, but really when tanks became a factor in war. Up until that point, it was basically just war in the trenches. That is graphically very well displayed.
Yeah.
I was about to say, my U.S. history holds up, so take it with a grain of salt. I believe what happened was the British and French owed the U.S. more, so that's why they joined on their side, because we didn't have treaties with any of them. So it came down to who owed more money. The Germans didn't take enough money out through the U.S.
Yeah. And then they got the support, got the tanks, and then my kids are playing Nintendo Switch, so
they must be having a good time.
They do.
So for all of you who are listening later, Distortion's like, can you barely hear this little bit of sound? We're like, barely.
Yeah, there's no background noise, and I can hear them myself. I don't know if you can hear them. I need to like increase the background noise suppression, I guess, but it's fine. I can edit those out later. That's the fun part about having
you got to keep it
audio
nailed.
tracks.
Talking about it.
I'll keep them on, otherwise it makes no sense in context later. I'll just cut the whole segment out, which I won't, so because you just watched it. Anyways, what I did not like, and I guess this is more for people knowing about the book and knowing about the previous adaptations. So the point of the book and the story, which is a fictional one, it just is pulled from from someone who actually returned. Again, spoilers, everyone in this movie, all the protagonists die basically. But I warned you before you decided to join
in a war film. Gasp.
But the way they die is not to their own, not their own fault. Cat in the movie, he is shot by a farmer's boy because they decide to steal the geese or farm animals to eat them because they were hungry. So it's kind of their own fault, their own shenanigans. They go and steal stuff from a farmer that they know has a rifle, so they get shot and he later dies. Kind of his own fault. In the book, it's not his own fault. He dies from a grenade shrapnel. The same for Paul. He's shot in a quiet moment. They're laying there, and then he sees a butterfly, tries to reach it, and he's shot in that moment. The narration switches in the book to a third person, and that's how you know he dies. In the movie, it's just stop fighting, and there was no point. They were already standing off 10 seconds before the ceasefire was announced, and then he gets shot. I guess it would be ignoring orders, but at this point they knew the ceasefire was coming. So that kind of stuff, as well as the recruitment part, is pretty big in the book. They were the brainwashing, the propaganda, how they got recruited. In the movie, it's all brushed over in under 10 minutes. There's a young group of students that suddenly are excited. They're high school age, right? They're 16, 17 years old, didn't get the signature from the parents, and they're excited about going to war. And you don't know why. So the book covers all of that the teachers for the last 3 years actually were praising the war efforts and were telling them how great it is to march on Paris and join the army. So none of that is explained in the movie, which that kind of takes away the message that is reported in the country, as well as kind of the meaninglessness of war. Other than that, it shows probably pretty realistic pictures of how First World War looked like, as well as kind of the difference between soldiers and the upper ranks, because the upper ranks were still fine dining at those times.
So I guess here's a question, since I haven't seen it. Which version of All Quiet on the Western Front would you recommend to someone?
This is the one I watched, so that's the one I can't listen.
I would say the book, probably. Again, I don't think I watched the 1930s movie, but when I watched the 1979 movie in high school, again, different perspective on life, and I was like, oh, why would I watch? I don't want to watch this movie. We have to sit here, so it's better than, I guess, actual school. But I was like, what's the point of this movie? But again, you see, as you become older, you gain more perspective on life. And if it's a movie, slower movie about the meaningless of war, it may not be resonating with I don't know how old I was, 15, 16, 17-year-old, versus now that I'm like, oh yeah, they were just slaughtered for nothing, for 5 meters, 10 meters, I don't know, 30 yards. Up and down the trenches, and the line the front didn't really move at all.
So another fun trivia fact, All Quiet on the Western Front was originally, or the 1930 film was banned in Germany for a time.
I can imagine why. And when, I can imagine between...
I was about to say, according to Google, the Nazi Party viewed it and said, ooh, this is going against our message of war is good, so this is officially banned by the state.
Yeah, now I can see why. If they needed soldiers to sign up, you don't show that movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that one is nominated, and I think it nominated as the only foreign movie, nominated also as best foreign movie, which I think will win foreign movie. If you nominate it as best picture and as the only foreign movie, you will at least win that category.
Yeah.
I don't think it will win the Oscar for Best Picture, but we can talk about it later. Next one, Avatar: The Way of Water. James, any thoughts?
It was a beautiful looking movie. I mean, I think it's mostly about father and son. I mean, and the loss of the kids. They kind of deal with whaling, like not put wild animal life in a way in the water. I thought, I don't know. For me, Black Panther did a better telling about water than Avatar did.
Yep. It's a beautiful wildlife documentary, big budget wildlife documentary.
A little too long at times.
It's the longest movie. It's over 3 hours. The only movie over 3 hours. The story is pretty flat. Like,
yeah, there's not much to tell you about.
What? Ferngully 4?
There's not much to the story. I mean, it's like what 16 years after the first movie, and well, the invaders come back and they flee to a different tribe and have to accommodate life there, and they are being chased for whatever reason. I don't know why they're spending so many resources on finding this one person that's on the run, anyways. But it's somehow
it kind of gave me a like Avatar: The White Airbender, going to another water nation.
Yeah. Maybe they wanted to be more like that. So from the Earth tribe, they went to the water tribe and learned their ways. Again,
no, they went from the air tribe to the water tribe, and they just announced that the third one's going to be the Fire Nation attacks.
There you go. But yeah, no, visually stunning, and you can tell like they so I guess James Cameron has that thing where every movie that he makes, he needs to show off a new technology that had never been used before. In this case, it's called the Deep X, and it's a new technology to film 3D images underwater. And you can tell at times when you just spend like 20 minutes on a whale-like, I don't know what the name is, but a whale-like creature underwater, playing around with one of their sons. And it's definitely stretched out too long. It's visually amazing, and I'm glad that's the only movie I watched at the theater. But it's definitely not needed for story context or anything else.
Would you say this is more? It feels like a tech demo at times, where hopefully another creator, who is better at storytelling, can use this technology to actually tell a good story.
Well, that's what they did with the last movie, Titanic, the same way. He made cameras to go underwater, and he sold the cameras for other people to use.
What is with him and water? Because Abyss too, he loves water.
And the end of the movie, it's like Titanic, it's sinking into the water. They have to get out the ship before they get underwater.
Because it's so challenging to film water. I think Titanic, he actually did in a studio, right, and flooded the whole building to have some of those scenes shot. And now he's like, well, we can use this new technology here. But yeah, it's the decisions by the characters and big end fight scene, and it's visually great. But again, the decisions the characters make no sense. Like there's this character Spider who like is willing to die to protect the Na'vi, but then the remaining 70% of the movie he spends helping the invaders. It's like,
yeah,
because they're like offering him a better life. It's like, you can be tortured in this chamber, or you can come and help us. And he was willing to die through torture, but then he's like, yeah, no, I'll ride along. So
did the tribe betray him, or is there like a clear like?
No, it's just, I mean, later you realize, like, I guess if you haven't seen it, there might be a movie. I don't know if that's a movie you want to watch. I don't want to have a spoiler for the very end. That's setting up the third movie.
And the fifth one, the second one, the eighth one.
Yeah, he might become the third movie's villain.
One movie, like there's two I kind of don't want to be spoiled. I will just get off for a little bit, come back on like ask.
Which ones are those? We can also do a non-spoiler review for those. Which ones are those?
Everything else at once. I'll just hop off and hop back on, and then I guess Top Gun, even though Top Gun.
There are no spoilers for that one, so we can. You're safe for Top Gun.
I was gonna say with Avatar, I literally couldn't care less about. Like, I don't know. My favorite review to the first Avatar film, when I got out of the theater with my dad and I asked him what his thoughts were, he looked at me and said, "The Ewoks were smarter than those blue bastards."
Yeah. So no, that character Spider, he's the son of the colonel. What's his name?
I forgot.
Oh, of course he is. And he's the weird human boy that's in all the
That
trailers.
remains there because he cannot be in one of those capsules to travel back. But yeah, Colonel Miles Quaritch. So he's the son. Anyways, throughout the movie, he refuses to help them. Then he helps them, but he doesn't really want to help them, but he still does. And then in the end fight, he saves that guy's life, even though everyone wants to kill him, and he's left for dead. And he's the one saving them, not telling the Navi about it, because he's his dad, so he still develops feelings, even though it's just weird. The story is flat. Decisions make no sense. So
I know I shouldn't. I'm going to regret this 100%. Because in the first movie, they talked about how Pandora was like a living hell, and the Navi only survived because their bodies were like indestructible compared to humans.
He wears a mask the whole movie, so he can actually breathe. But still, yeah, he's a boy.
They talked about like the plants had like needles that could strap new like planes and stuff.
See, I haven't watched the first movie since it came out, which was how many years ago? I watched it when it came out and never again. So I can't even remember any of the events other than
15. It might be 15
people.
Some years ago.
I'll say this: anyone watching, pause, watch that speech because it's burned into my brain. Because he talked about that planet like tearing through humans, and then it's like they water it down more and more and more. Because yeah, like the air's poisonous.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go to the next one because yeah, there's 10 movies. Otherwise, we spend 3 hours here, which I'm okay with. But I don't know your timeline. The Banshees of Inisherin. I'm having a Guinness on that movie because they all have. It's a movie in Ireland, 1923 Ireland during the Civil War, but the Civil War is kind of like on the side. You don't really see it. It's just those times. James, what are your thoughts on? I know it's a little bit slower paced movie. Did you think that for that one?
It kind of gave me a Seinfeld vibe. See, you got the brother, that is Jerry, the sister Elaine, the guy with the finger is Kramer, and the boy that fell in love with the sister is George.
I had not looked at it this way, but
it felt like an episode of Seinfeld.
I mean, it was funny. It was a little bit different kind of humor, a little bit like subtle humor versus Seinfeld. But yeah, you got the constellation of characters and their gender, right? At least.
Yeah. I was confused at the beginning of the movie. I mean, why they were angry at each other. And why was he cutting his fingers off? Didn't quite make sense to me.
I don't think it makes sense to anyone. I think that just describes his character, how much of sociopath or psychopath he is. But yeah, this coming out of nowhere. I love this movie. Like again, I'm having a Guinness, and I know the exported Guinness are not nearly as good as the ones you get in Ireland, but I'm having one just for that movie. I think it's one of my two. If like we'll talk about later who we pick for best picture. That's one of the two. Like they're right up there. They're like even.
It's high, but it's not at the number one. It's high. But...
It's pretty high, yeah. To me, it's like tied for first, but I know there won't be any ties. So
I mean, it was a unique movie. I haven't seen nothing like it before.
Yeah. So it's the same team that did In Bruges.
I was trying to look that up actually because it looked like a lot of the same cast. When he said it was pseudo funny, I'm like, you sound like you're describing In Bruges, right? Yeah,
director, and then Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. And I don't think the other ones are in there, but they've known. I just listened to an interview with Colin Farrell earlier, and he said he also worked with Kerry Condon for multiple years. They've all known each other for like 15, 20 plus years. And it's like, it was so much fun to make the movie. Anyone says that, but in that case, I guess I believe that for this movie because they did In Bruges. And other than, I guess, Barry Kerrigan, who absolutely deserves Best Supporting Actor. He probably won't get it, but deserves Best Supporting Actor for his performance of Dominic in there. In case you wonder who that is, that's Druig in The Eternals.
Oh, the young boy.
Yeah, Dominic. So that's his range is amazing. He can play Druig in The Eternals, and he plays Dominic in this one, which, Josh, you should really watch this movie. This like even better than Everything Everywhere All at Once, in my opinion. Probably other people would say it isn't, but it's an amazing movie. I watched it twice within the last 3 weeks. Just the character arcs and the personalities that clash on an island, and in 1923, they're true to the time. Like there's not much else to do on an Irish island in that time. They obviously don't have communication to the mainland other than snail mail, and again, the civil war between the IRA and the Free State, Irish Free State, or whatever they're called, is on the mainland. So they hear the cannon shots in the background, and they turn around every once in a while and it's like, whatever you're fighting for, good luck. But it doesn't make it to the island. I think that's like a relic of the original script. When Colin Farrell, he was interviewed, and he said that this movie, like the script that was originally written, they had to throw 95% of that out, or they didn't have to, but it was a complete different movie. It was a more like a punk rock movie-ish, faster pace, and the character dies in the end with a shot, and like I guess it was more involved in the war. But in this movie, obviously, that they slowed it down, made it more about the people, about their stories, their character arcs, and we'll all talk about the Fabelmans later. But this is also a coming-of-age story, because at the beginning, Podrick, even though he's an adult, and the movie is just covering a span of a few days, or of weeks at the most, he's more childlike. He's an open-hearted guy in the beginning, and it's kind of sad to see him go through the transition, being forced through the transition, and kind of going in character arc that goes down, and he becomes more bitter and more ignorant, less
That
nice.
pet donkey, that poor donkey.
Man, we have 2 movies where donkeys were killed, so yeah.
That's right. Hey, what was the other one?
The Triangle of Sadness, they like completely stoned that poor thing, but
Oh yeah, I forgot.
but yeah, no,
James doesn't care about donkeys, it seems like.
there are multiple themes in all of those 10 movies, like whether that's social commentary or donkeys being killed. But yeah. James, that's something that was not answered, but Dominic's death, do you think it was an accident? Was it suicide, or did his dad kill him?
Oh, I kind of thought he did it himself. Suicide.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. In the movie, it's portrayed as like an accident, right? It's like, oh, this guy was found in the lake.
Yeah, but I think if it was an accident, they probably would have sold it. By not showing it, you had to question itself.
Yeah, but apparently only the viewer questioned that and thought, I mean, if you think it was suicide as well, like I'm glad I'm not the only one who actually questions them brushing over his death so quick. Like Podrick made more of a bigger deal of the donkey's death than about Dominic's. Maybe the donkey was closer to him, but I guess Dominic was one of his 2 best friends, like the other one was Colin. But that one went south. So Dominic was his only real friend that was left. And he was like, okay, he died.
Yeah, moved on.
Yep. It's like, poor lad. But yeah, definitely slower pacing, but it fit right well. And I don't know what the chances are for winning it all, but definitely it should get something if it's even only like Barry in the support role. I know Colin Farrell is also nominated as. They have a bunch of. I think all the cast was nominated, right? Colin Farrell was nominated for Best Actor. Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan. Again, I don't know if I pronounced that last name right, because it's an Irish one and they never pronounce the way they're written.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
They are nominated for Best Supporting Cast, and then Kerry Condon is also nominated for Best Supporting Actress. We have Omar joining.
Maybe. He's not good at IT, so he might not know how to do it.
Oh, really, James? Really?
You didn't know you were connected to
Oh, he
audio.
still
right?
doesn't have camera. Hey,
There we go. I don't really use Zoom on this computer, so I just wanted to drop in and say hello.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're
Um,
getting to
Hope you're
talk about
feeling
one of your
better.
favorite movies.
what's that?
We're getting ready
What
to
do
talk
I
about
think?
Elvis.
Oh, I hate that movie. That movie was horrible. I'm not a fan of that guy's movies, though.
That's actually the next movie we're about to talk about. But depending on how much time we have, we can either talk about Elvis or you let us know what's your favorite movie and what do you think should win.
For me, it was Triangle of Sadness this year.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I've not seen Women Talking. And I just finished the Fable. What was it? The Fable.
Fabelmans.
Fabelmans.
Fableman, yeah, which was really good, but they took a lot of liberties, even Steven Spielberg, because I've read his
Yeah.
book. I don't know. Have you all seen it? The
Yeah.
Fabelman?
Babylon
Josh
is
hasn't watched
better.
anything, so he's just here
How's
to play
the-
devil's
Just
advocate.
here for support. What a guy. Yeah, it was weird because he filmed it and co-wrote it, but
About his
Really?
wife.
reading his book, like, it was about like his dad leaving his mom, and that's why like he kind of put that in ET. And then later he found out that he left his mom because his mom was cheating on him, and back then like it was looked down on, and that's why he kind of rekindled his relationship with his father in what was it, Last Crusade. He had Sean Connery playing Indy's dad. So I thought that was really cool, but in the movie it made it seem like he knew all along that his mom was having an affair, which it worked great, like, you know, as far as the movie, but I just thought it was really weird that he himself co-wrote that. So I guess he changed
Yeah,
something.
I don't know. I mean, I went for a couple of writing that movie
Mm-hmm.
because he really went diving into his mom. But his
Yeah.
mom had a problem almost.
Omar, if you were making the story of Omar, wouldn't you change some things?
It was a weird thing to change though.
Yeah.
Like, I think I get it. It was just a really weird thing to change. But it was I actually liked the movie. I didn't think I was gonna like it. But yeah, I'm sorry. Triangle of Sadness. That's my favorite this year.
Yeah.
It was great.
Awesome.
I
That's
love that
the
movie.
same I picked,
Yeah.
and based on James' response as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I don't think it's come up anywhere. I listened to like a Vanity Fair podcast. That's the only one I could find about like prediction, picking your winners. No one picks that one. Like I think they all pick Everything Everywhere All at Once because
Yeah,
that
I
one
think
has
that
won the SAG
That was
awards
my-
and
Second
Other-
one. That was in my
I will
second
be
place.
I'll be shocked if it's Top Gun that ends up winning.
oh, it has no chance of winning. I think.
Like that would be almost like, because it's been a long time that a big box office movie has won an Oscar, right?
They
Like,
used to win them all. They
Lord
used
of
to.
the Rings, I think, was the last one in 2003, like the big movie that won the Oscar with Return of the King. But it's been so long since, because
It shouldn't also win to me. I mean, we will talk about that movie later, but I think it shouldn't win it because this movie has no story. It's a great movie. Like none of the movies nominated, in my opinion, are bad. But Top Gun Maverick
Yeah.
has no story.
One
Like,
is-
tell me the
Oh.
story. I mean, it has a plot. It has a plot and a premise, but it has no.
it's Tom Cruise being the best of what he can be.
It's kind of like Jag Mission Impossible.
I was gonna say my favorite review for Top Gun was, once again, my father. He's like, so they just stole a plot from Top Shots, the comedy,
Hot Shots. I love
Hot
that
Shots.
movie.
because it's the same plot where it's like they need to blow up a facility, a nuclear facility. Like it's the exact same plot as the new Top Gun.
I love Hot Shots. It's
Hot
such a
Shots was great.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about
Let's
Top
see.
Gun. I
The
mean, it
new
was nice
Top
to-
Gun is the exact same plot as Hot Shots.
Kind of reminded me of Star Wars: A New Hope. Like we got to go in this kind of mission, and we got this little area that we got to hit with our missiles, and you've got to use the Force. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that movie, but I don't see it winning. Guys, I got to bounce off here. I
Right.
got some medication and take a little bit of a nap before I go and join
Jake.
Jake for his interview. So thank you all for doing
Take
this.
care.
This is cool, man. I'll see
Thanks
you
for
guys
joining.
later. Yeah,
Bye.
yeah. Bye, guys.
All right, my son, if you hear him, he can't believe something. But
They can't believe Omar left.
yeah.
Omar
Well,
did it.
Omar misses us talking about the next one, which is Elvis, his favorite movie, as he just said. What do you think about that one, James?
I think it should have been a miniseries. It would have been better than a movie. I mean, it looked nice. I mean, Austin Butler, I think how you said it, he was good at Elvis. I'm not sure about Tom Hanks. It doesn't seem like his type of movie. I mean, it was
apparently Austin Butler is the front runner for winning Best Actor, which I don't understand why, but I guess the competition isn't that strong this year. Because to me, like sometimes I paused the movie a lot and looked at the original, like Elvis. There are lots of parts of Elvis's life that are on camera and are documented. So whenever they are in a performance, I think they did a great job matching those things. But everyone is like, "Oh, his transition from young Elvis to old Elvis." It's like, no, like 90% of the movie, he just looks the same, and then just the last, I don't know,
half
20,
hour.
not even, yeah, like they just switch him to something else, like Fat Elvis version. But there's no transition.
It was Elvis on drugs.
Elvis on drugs and gained some weight, and still not as much as the actual Elvis did. Like if you compared it to, like it's still not close. So they still slimmed him down. But I think I appreciate the movie for what it is, which is an entertainment piece. I don't know if you have watched Winning Time on HBO.
No.
It's like a TV show about the LA Lakers that is similar to Elvis.
I'm not gonna watch that.
That's the thing. It's not a documentary like Elvis. I don't think the movie is not a documentary. It's like entertaining. They changed reality a lot to make it entertaining. The style it's shot in, it's fun to watch. To me, it's fun to watch. It's not a documentary. Everyone that watches it thinking this is how things played out. At least, at the very latest, I think they are torn out of that when they play a rap song. I think they play Eminem over when Elvis goes to find BB King. It's like, what? Like, this is not even, you couldn't find a song from that era to make it a little bit more realistic. Like you had to.
They didn't have that many Elvis songs in it either. It had the same song almost over and over again.
When he was singing himself, yeah. I mean, the performances they matched, but the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtrack in general, Elvis songs are great, but in overall, it didn't match the actual era. Like they had rap.
Also, it's like, one, if you're gonna do a movie like this, the soundtrack should be like one of the best parts.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the soundtrack is fantastic. Like I like the soundtrack, but it wasn't that era. That's why once you stop thinking about this as a documentary, I think you will enjoy this movie more. Everything is a little bit over dramatized, over saturated, and the truth is white. Like this feels like whitewashing Elvis's name, because it's constantly like honoring Black history, which I think is great, but that should have happened back then. Like Elvis should have spoken out more about this. And now in retrospect to say like, oh no, like he was supportive all along. I don't know, it feels a little bit whitewashing. And someone on the Discord actually mentioned, I didn't look that up, but someone mentioned that Priscilla Presley was, oh no, not Priscilla, like the daughter, Marie Lisa, I think her name.
She have a TV series that came out. I can't think what her name is.
But yeah, his daughter was heavily involved in making this movie, so I can see how she wanted to portray him in the best way. And the manager, played by Tom Hanks, being portrayed as the evil guy, even though like the Christmas special, for example, like he's being portrayed as being against everything that Elvis wanted. I looked up some articles, like it seems like, I don't know again who wrote them, but there are different sources, that he was very supportive. And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't he be supportive? Made him a ton of money. Why wouldn't he be supportive of the Christmas special in the way that it was made, like not singing Christmas songs? So I don't know.
So then the corner die, Paul?
Say it again.
When the corner, Tom Hanks killed the corner, when he died in real life, did he die, Paul?
Yeah, I think because they later figured out how much he ripped Elvis. Like I think he got half of what Elvis got. Like he got half of everything. So later, after Elvis died, they found like the documents and stuff, and they actually didn't know at the time, but later they found out that he made a ton of money off of Elvis, which, yeah, I mean, I get he's not portrayed as the best guy there because of that. But I don't see how they were at odds all those times when, I mean, it worked out for both of them for more, well, Elvis in the end, like I think the drug abuse is something different. But again, this is also like you make your own decisions. Like he had the chance to make his own decisions, not to stay in Vegas for that long and kind of go out there into the world. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like a good movie, but a little bit whitewashing.
Since this is a comic book channel, we can tie this all together.
Yes, please.
I don't know if have y'all read The Fifth Beatle?
No.
Nope.
It's about the Beatles manager. It's the title, The Fifth Beatle. I'll take some photos and post on the Discord. But there's a scene where the Beatles manager meets Elvis's manager, and there's a great line in here where, because it's like the Beatles manager, pardon, Elvis's manager. I have no need for other projects. Elvis and I are a partnership 50-50, except for my side deals, of course, which are extra and numerous. Beatles manager, you take 50% of Elvis's earnings? No. Elvis takes 50% of everything I earn.
There you go.
It's honestly, I recommend this more than Omar recommends Elvis.
So I shouldn't read it.
Oh man, no, you should, because
That's not a high bar, but yeah. No, gotcha. I'll look. I'll keep an eye out for that. Let's jump to the next one because you can. I think it wasn't a bad movie, but it's right there in between. Again, none of the movies were bad, but I also don't think it has a chance of winning. I'm surprised that Austin Butler is the front runner for Best Actor, but again, the other ones nominated were about the same. So Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I know Josh, you didn't want to get spoilers there, but we can do a non-spoiler review. James, you liked it, or?
I'm trying to figure out how to talk about it without giving anything away.
Gotcha. Okay, Josh, you can
let's do this.
Mute us.
I'll be back.
Oh,
sounds good.
You guys are officially mute.
There we go.
Well, okay. I think it was about a mother trying to deal with the fact that her daughter is LGBT.
I think general the expectations, yeah. That was one big part, definitely not wanting to relay.
You could say that.
Sorry.
The movie could be all in her head too, in a way. Her head trying to process about the news.
No, for sure. And I think it's very like it's
like anime. Felt like an anime movie almost.
Yeah, no, definitely very anime style, and it's very head-based, right? Like it's all about your self-perception, changing that. In that case, they use the multiverse to change it because you're like, if an alternative reality of yourself exists in that universe, then you can become that yourself as well in this universe. So there is hardly any option. I mean, the hot dog finger one, you can't really do that. Like you can't decide like, oh, I want a hot dog finger. I mean,
you can be two walks next to each other.
Yeah, but in general, like the decisions she made in the end, and she could have made those all along. You can become a different version of yourself, even in this universe. And to get there, they used the multiverse approach to kind of show her that path and show her the options. And sometimes you don't see the options you can take in your own life if you just live your life. So I think it's great. Like the movie about being about that. Very, very.
It's kind of a hard movie to talk about because there's so much that went on too.
So many different things. Like you can talk about the grievances, you can talk about the generational conflict, about just toxic relationships, and
I mean, it was nice to see. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but the guy from Indiana Jones.
Yes.
It's nice to see him back.
I think so. Sorry, go ahead.
He Kihu Gone or something like that. I'm not sure how to say his name, but it was nice to see him back in a movie.
Yeah, I hope I could pronounce that properly. Ki Hui Kwan. I hope that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, no, he actually talked about this at length when he won like Best Supporting Actor. And I think, I don't know if it was Golden Globe, one of the other awards, either Golden Globes or SAG-AFTRA Awards or the British Film Press. He hadn't worked as an actor in over 20 years.
Yeah.
Because of who he was. Like after doing Indiana Jones, like the Goonies, he saw all of his co-stars becoming famous. Them all being white. They had acting careers, and he was the only one left out. He couldn't get roles. And then at one point, he gave up becoming an actor, and he worked on movies in the background as like, I don't know, sound assistant or other stuff, director, like other stuff on movies. And then seeing that script, and after, I think his revelation was watching Crazy Rich Asians and him leaving the cinema crying like, wow, like I didn't realize someone who looks like me can actually lead a movie, be a lead role, or be in a movie of that size. And I think that was the turning point for him. And then when the script came out, he had concerns about starting to act again after 20 years. But yeah, he did an amazing job. And he's also, I think, the front runner for Best Supporting. That's why I think Barry Keoghan for the Banshees won't win, because I think Key will win this as Best Actor in a Supporting Role.
I mean, this is my second best movie on the list. It's in second place.
Second place. To me, it's third. Yeah, it's definitely up there. There are 4 movies that I think are legitimate contenders that can and should win it. If it's another one, like the Fabelmans won Golden Globes. I don't know how that happened, but I guess they love Spielberg so much.
Yeah, that's the only reason that's on the list, because of his name.
I'm sure. But yeah, anything else about this movie?
I don't think so. I mean, it's trying to be the next Matrix almost.
Yeah, it is very relatable, especially if you know families with that constellation, like an overbearing mother. Sorry, Ben just pinged me. He said he's been trying to connect to Zoom for 5 minutes straight. It's like, yeah, I'm seeing you, dude. I'll respond to him. Maybe. If you have anything else to add for
No,
everything.
I mean we can hop to the next one. I mean, when we already talked to him about the Fabelmans already.
Yeah, the Fabelmans. I think if this wasn't about Spielberg, it wouldn't be nominated. What about you, the Fabelmans?
Yeah, it was, his name was on. I don't think it would. That's why I posted saying that the Babylon was a better movie about Hollywood history than this movie. I mean, it didn't. When it dealt with the 8mm film, it didn't show it the correct way. Because they haven't played some 8mm or Super 8 movies, but that wasn't recorded on 8mm camera. That was recorded on a present day camera.
Yeah, to me, it's, I don't know. Like again, what Omar said earlier, that Spielberg changed so much. I guess that's why he didn't call it the Spielbergs. He's called it Fabelmans, because I didn't even know that when Omar earlier said that those are the things that he changed. I wasn't aware, but either way, to me, this is a normal coming of age story. It's like, yeah, it's a good movie, but we've seen it 1,000 times before.
And it dealt with Hanukkah, surprisingly.
Oh, you didn't know he was Jewish?
No, I mean, you don't see that in movies very often.
Yeah. True. Hey, Ben, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? I finally got this figured out. I am actually pulling a Josh here because I have only seen half of Elvis, and I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I wanted to see what people who did watch the movies thought. So I'm just here to basically listen to you guys.
Nice. You're still better than Josh, though.
What kind of monster shows up and not watches a single thing?
Hey, no, I said I've watched 1.5 of them.
Josh is here to ask the hard questions about what is the movie about.
Hey, I've been giving pretty good commentary.
Yeah, no, you have.
On Elvis, I can tell you it's about Elvis. On Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's about Everything Everywhere All at Once. I feel like I am qualified to give those assessments.
Your insight is so marvelous.
So
Thank you.
we are at the pickle right now because so we talked about both. The point for Everything Everywhere All at Once, though, is Josh dropped because we wanted to talk about it because that's the only movie he actually wants to watch, or along with Top Gun. He muted himself. He can't
hear you.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so we can talk about it again. But then Ben
And-
walks away. So
And he walks away.
Ben's sorry, I'm just trying to adjust the lights so I
don't
don't
worry. Just
super dark.
trying.
And I'm gone again.
All right. So Josh can't hear us, so we can talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once again. So yeah, Ben, what's your take? You like it?
I really liked it, but when we started watching it, I watched it with my wife, and we got like 30 minutes in, and she didn't have to say anything, and I just like stopped it, and I was like, "You hate this, don't you?" And she was like, "Yeah." And like after watching it, it very much felt like a movie that you're either going to love because you are a very particular segment of person that likes a lot of those things together, or you're just going to look at it and be like, how do people think this is art? And I don't think there's going to be many people that are in between that are like, yeah, it was pretty good. But it's like,
You kind of have to have a love for like Asian films.
I think there's, yeah, I think that's certainly a factor because it's like, obviously you get the martial arts factor going on there. You get the absolutely absurdist, silly juvenile comedy, like with the different aspects of how to access these certain ones. And I'm thinking of specifically of the fight scene where the bad guys need to take the award and place it into a particular area. And so they have to, Michelle Yeoh's character is fighting to prevent them from doing that. And you get that slow-mo scene of the guy jumping over. And again, like,
Oh, I forgot about that
that
scene already.
I thought that was hilarious. But if my wife had still been watching at that point, she would have just been like, why are we watching this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And
Plus the hot dog fingers. Don't forget the hot dog fingers.
Yep. So it's I really like it, but it's like I like that. I like, existentialist philosophy that is wrapped up in like some type of prose. Camus was one of my favorite authors because he couches philosophy really well with an actual plot, and I thought they did that really well with like using that as the backdrop. What is man's place in the universe? If there is no greater meaning behind everything, what is the purpose of life here? While couching that in family dynamics, like I thought it did a lot of things really, really clever. So again, I thought of the Venn diagram of all the things coming together, I thought I was pretty perfectly in the middle of it, but I could definitely see people not getting that. And honestly, I am surprised that it does seem to be the front runner for Best Picture here.
It definitely is the front runner. It won all the other awards that mattered, and for that category, that I think the last time someone won a movie won People's Choice Awards, I think they won as what's the other one? Did they won the SAG Awards as well? Basically, the big three was like Streetcar Called Desire, which I don't even know what year that was, and then Network. But other than that, I don't like. There's no way this one is not going to win, in my opinion. Which I think there are two other movies that were better, but I can see how it resonates with so many people. And James, you said like liking Asian movies, but I think also with the audience, like I think it might be stereotypical, but it is true in many families, like Asian families, Latino families, just any Catholic countries. Like you have this overbearing mother holding the family together because she's thrown in that position. and from seeing that from her perspective, I think it's a great point of view, but it's also I can see how it doesn't resonate with some people because that's not the family structure they grew up in, and they like don't understand because they don't have or don't know anyone in their lives that is a strong woman trying to do like with the generational gap, right? Like kind of keep the grandpa happy while dealing with the daughter's kind of progressive views. Like she's in a very unique situation and not seeing the way out until she's basically forced into rethinking what life she can live by seeing the multiverse or seeing the alternative versions of herself and deciding, if I can be this over there, I can change my life over here, because at some point that route forked off. And basically the takeaway from the movie being like, yeah, you always decide the next step in your own life. You can always fork your own life. Sometimes it is forced on you, but sometimes you make a decision to change your life to something else, and then that becomes your reality, along with, again, the generational conflict and toxic relationships that if you ignore them, they grow into something bad. If you address them, I mean, in the end, the dad, the grandpa didn't really have a problem with her being gay, right? So I think it's a great movie. I'm surprised that is the front runner. What I didn't know until earlier, I like listened to a podcast. I didn't know that movie was shot before the pandemic. So that's like a 3-year-old movie. I don't think it would have had the same response had it come out in 2020.
Well, I think Elvis was supposed to come out last year too, but it got delayed.
It got delayed for multiple reasons. They shot it before, and Jamie Lee Curtis actually said she had like 3 days on set. Like her 90% of her scenes were shot in 2 days. And this is not a big budget movie, right?
The tax advisor was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, and she's nominated. She's the front runner to win Best Supporting Actress, or actress as in a supporting role.
Until you just said, I was like, wait, who was she in the movie? And then I was like, oh my God, I did not pick up on that until, wow.
And she said she wouldn't have done that. Like she knew, or she heard that Michelle Yeoh was going to be in this movie. And again, to her, it's like 10 years ago, like she's had like 30 years in acting, right? Never before would Michelle Yeoh been able to carry a movie, be the lead in a movie, right? This is before you joined, Ben, we talked about Keith's journey from like the Goonies and how he wasn't in acting for 20 years because he couldn't get roles as an Asian. All of that kind of changed with Crazy Rich Asians, that people out there realized, no, Asian actors, actresses can carry a movie. That's when they got more roles. That's when those scripts kind of started picking up. And this movie, like Jamie Lee Curtis deciding like, she wants to be in this movie, even though it's like low budget, or not low. I mean, there's still millions of dollars, but like compared to, I mean, Avatar and Top Gun and what else is nominated, some lower independent movies, low budget movies, some bigger ones. But I think also hearing that they shot her scenes in 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Pre-pandemic, and then took that long.
Susan quite a bit of the movie too.
Say it again.
Susan quite a bit of the movie.
She's in a supporting role, but she is in long stretches. I mean, big parts of that is all in the tax advisor and in the office. That I can see how you have one setting and you shoot all the scenes there. But then there are some scenes that are also outside of that, like some fight scenes, and
and at the end of the movie, she's at the laundromat to confront the family when they're going to collect on that, and then Michelle Yeoh takes the baseball bat to everything. And then there's always, there's the scenes in Hot Dog Finger timeline where she's in the apartment with Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
But most of it is in the one tax building there. So even though we see her spread throughout the movie, it's one set that you would think, all right, we're going to shoot this scene, and then they're shooting non-sequentially, obviously, with that.
Yeah. It is not my pick for if I could choose, but again, I'm not voting. There's other people voting. I think it's the front runner, and it's still one of the 4 movies I'm okay with winning. Well, who am I to decide? Then I'm okay with anyone winning something or not. But just 4 movies, I can see them winning it. If Top Gun wins it, I'm probably never going to watch another Oscar nominated for Best Picture again.
I don't understand how that got nominated.
So-
I have no idea how this one got nominated.
It Top Gun 1. Do you want someone to slap you in the face?
No, I'm good. I don't need physical pain, but I just, it's not going to win. Don't worry. Eating my own words there later. Anyway, so for Josh to come back, I guess we'll jump to the next. Well, we talked about the Fabelmans. Again, good coming of age story, but hey, nothing special if you detach the name Spielberg from, like why is this?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be nominated. It won the Golden Globe again. I don't know why.
I will say the Fabelmans is better than the next movie we're gonna talk about.
Oh yeah, no, that's gonna be an interesting discussion. I'll ping Josh again while you rant about Tar.
I'm not I was bored out of my mind this movie. I didn't enjoy it at all. I mean, the character didn't seem to evolve. The plot didn't seem to go any well. I think it was the worst movie on the list.
Which movie? Fabelmans?
No, Tall. TAR.
Oh.
Tar.
The one over Torsten's left shoulder. Well,
Yeah,
his left shoulder.
it felt like it was made for the 1% of people.
Yep, right there. Yep, your thumbs up on you're thumbs upping on it. Yep, you were pointing like right at Kate Blanchett.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I have nothing to add except
don't waste your time.
Yeah, Triangle of Sadness was the one that was going to be next on my list. I really want to watch Banshees of Inisherin, but I don't have an easy way to watch that.
It's HBO Max.
Banshees is or Triangle of Sadness?
Triangle
Yeah,
of Sadness is Hulu. Banshees
is on HBO Max. You can watch that one if you have it. It comes with my phone bill, so yeah, I do have it. I watched it twice, so you definitely should watch Banshees.
If you like Seinfeld, you'll like this movie.
It's James's take.
That's the tagline right there.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie. To me, it's top 2. Like I think in the end, I placed it in second spot. Because to me, the 1 and 2 are equal, but I had to pick one, so I picked Triangle of Sadness as first. But Banshee is definitely super close.
It's on my fourth on my list.
So fourth for me, which brings this back to Tar, is Tar. You definitely have to be in the mood for watching it. I get you. Like if you expect an action movie or a movie that like is remotely close to what you've seen before, I understand that you probably don't like Tar. If you expect a slow-paced movie and listen to a lot of talking,
Bendis book.
It's worse than a Bendis book.
Hey, I love Bendis books. I love talking. So I mean, Torsten's selling this thing to me right now.
So it's one of the 4. It's in 4th spot, but if this win, it won't win. Like I hope Kate Blanchett wins because she's by far the best performance of all. Like it's nominated for Best Actress in a lead role. By far, like if Kate Blanchett doesn't win this, I understand that Michelle Yeoh has won other awards for her performance. That's fair. But if Kate Blanchett doesn't win it, people haven't seen it. And again, there's 9,500 people voting for this. Many of them might have not seen Tar. I would hope they all would. If you get a vote, you should watch all the movies. But no, it's director Todd Field. I don't think he has made many movies before, but he did Little Children back in 2006, which is one of my favorite movies of 2006. I used to work at a cinema in 2006, 2007, and basically watched all movies that came out in those 2 years. This is one of my favorite movies, not the favorite movie during those times, but one of my favorite movies during those times. Same director. It's a slow-paced movie. They talk about a lot of stuff you've never even considered being a thing that probably doesn't interest you. You will never pay any interest about conducting. after this, unless you're really into it. But it's still, I was still interested in listening to it. That's the first half an hour. Maybe I'm biased because I'm from Berlin. I grew up, born and raised in Berlin. This movie is like 80-90% in Berlin because the setting of this is the Berlin
What?
Philharmonic.
We're hearing of this.
Wait, can I understand German now?
Wait a minute.
Wow.
Who knew Torsten was German? Was this like common knowledge?
Are you drinking a German beer too?
I actually do. Because I switched from my Banshees Guinness, I switched over. This might be a spoiler for Ben for tomorrow already to a König Pilsner. But because I already had it in the fridge. But
I completely forgot to buy my beer, so thank you for that reminder. I know what beer I'm buying, I just haven't bought it, so I need to get that on.
Go out and get it. But no, the majority of this movie is in Berlin, is shot in Berlin, and especially the Berlin Philharmonic. Back in, I think I went the New Year's concert back in 2015, 2016, I think 15. I'm not that much into classical music, but I know as much that this is an institution. I had not researched what this movie was about before. During the movie, I completely believed that this was a real story, that Lydia Tarr was a real person, that Kate Blanchett took that as her inspiration or template to work on this movie, that this was basically a biography. I was like, up to a point in the movie where I was like, yeah, I think someone told me about this story. My aunt or someone like who's into like the Berlin Philharmonic and attending audiences, musicals there, performances there. But regardless, so this completely took me by surprise when later I found out this is not a real story. This is a fictional character in a fictional environment. Like none of this is real.
The
It
end of it
feels real. This movie feels so real.
Wait a minute, so
end of it-
Berlin isn't real?
Well, Steven Spielberg sells his movie as real, even though he didn't even have the guts to call it the Spielbergs instead of the Fabelmans, and then changes a bunch of stuff up. Elvis was not a documentary. That was complete made up, not completely made up stuff, but they changed a lot. Again, whitewashing of Elvis's name. I don't know if you have any other thoughts about that, Ben, because you weren't here when we talked about Elvis. But yeah, no, Tar is definitely like it's up there. It definitely like a portrayal of a narcissistic predator that didn't commit any crimes. So to me, I was like, what does this movie want to tell us? Because it doesn't judge, right? Like it's not a judgment. You end up seeing both sides. You are pro and against cancel culture. It doesn't take sides. It just displays the things I thought how they were, but surprised they weren't like that. Like this is a fictional character. I think the statement here is like we live in a different world, and in this world, your actions have consequences. Because for her actions have consequences, even though she didn't break any laws. And I don't want to go too much into spoilers because I think, Ben, that might be a movie for you if you want to watch that.
Yeah, everything you're saying says that James, you and I may have some very different movie watching. Like I'm in. I'm
maybe you hate it and then you side with James. Let us know later. But after you watch it, that's why I don't want to go too much into. Say it again, Josh.
How much emotional damage does the story contain? Because if it has a lot, then it's gotten Ben written all over.
I mean, you're just telling me all the things I want to hear. Like my ideal movie is just like, you know, a round table of just characters like bearing their soul slow pace while the camera slowly twirls around and just like, oh, that's I'm already thinking, oh.
I might have another movie like women talking is that.
Yeah,
that's a round table. That should be a theater
a
play.
better movie. A lot better movie.
But yeah, that's more of a roundtable discussion. You're basically listening to a debate, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But no, Tar is more of a portrait. It's like a biography of a fictional character that knows she's a bad human being. So because she tries to hide the things that she does, she threatens I don't know
Everyone.
how old but like, how old is the daughter? Like the classmates of her daughter. She might be 9-year-olds. She threatens them not to tell anyone because no one would believe them anyways, and she would get hurt if she doesn't listen. While doing the same with her like professional counterparts or her assistants or other conductors, blocking them in their career path, never seeing the consequences until like, again, social media or the media like kind of exposes her there, and she didn't break any laws. And I guess when they talk about Bach, back then it would have been fine if it was 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. She would have gotten away with those things. We live in a different time now, and in a time where things are more exposed, and the public judges you based on your demeanor, not only whether it's legal or not. She does not get away with that stuff anymore. But again, her downfall, I think someone in on Discord said they didn't like how the downfall was portrayed. I think it was very unique. I've never seen that before, or I can't remember seeing that before, that you see her path not playing out in the events. They actually happen only in the consequences as they happen. Like you see her at the different stage. You don't know how she got there, but you realize, oh, it's not going well for her anymore. So I really love that movie. So it's, but I do understand your perspective, James. You have to be in a mood. Like you have to know you're listening to a lot of stuff. It's a slower paced movie. You have to lean back, have a glass of wine, and then just, yeah.
You had to be drunk while watching it. Got it.
So if I can jump in real quick. So Torsten, you've given us your top 4. James, we know what is your bottom film. Have you said yet tonight what your number 1 pick is?
Triangle of Sadness.
Okay. And Torsten, you said that was your number 1 too, right?
Yes, that's correct. Omar, when he joined earlier, that was also his number 1 pick. So all of us picked Triangle of Sadness as number 1 so far, which is interesting because I haven't heard anyone else. Again, I listened to a few podcasts, read a few articles. No one has that as like even being a contender. It actually, I read that it was a controversial pick to get nominated in the first place. Which, I mean, if that's controversial, I don't know why Everything Everywhere All at Once isn't controversial.
That's what I'm like. I was legitimately surprised based on what I was saying, how it's like, I feel like there's got to be a Venn diagram of like interest in order for people to enjoy that. That's one that I thought was like, oh, it's the indie darling. It's the American Hustle of a few years ago, where it's like, it's just being put on the list, but no one really thinks it's going to happen. So, Seeing Everywhere, it's like, oh yeah, it's the heavy favorite. I'm like, what is happening with movies? How is this what everyone is saying the conventional favorite?
I could be wrong. I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but screw it. Everything Everywhere I Want. I do want to see it. I've been meaning to, but I feel like I've heard more about the like making of it / like the behind the scenes of the movie than the actual movie itself.
I knew nothing about the behind the scenes, and I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it too, but I think that the behind the scenes is the stuff that pushes this over the line. The story of the actors. Like if Jamie Lee Curtis wins the Oscar for her support role, that's definitely a lifetime achievement. Like she wouldn't get the Oscar only for this role. It's like for her whole body of work. The same for Key. Like who, again, his struggle, we talked about this earlier, like he couldn't get a role for 20 years. He hadn't acted for 20 years because no one was casting Asians. So Michelle Yeoh, that would have never, up until 3, 4, 5 years ago, would have never gotten a lead role in any movie, now carries this movie. Like I do understand the background, and I think that's what pushes it over the line. To me, even if it wins, like I'm not upset because it's a great movie. I don't understand how no one talks about Triangle of Sadness. Maybe it's too much on the nose. Triangle of Sadness is very much on the nose.
There's always those like dark horse, like there's always those one films where it's like no one seems to watch it, but the ones who do are like, this didn't get enough promotion, this didn't get enough like just people talking about it. It's a great film. Like it seems like that always happens every year.
And the history behind the main actor is sad too, but trying to sign this.
Holy crap! Yeah, let's talk real quick about Top Gun before we go. If we want to stick to our alphabetical order. But yeah, Top Gun, Maverick. I have no idea how this was nominated. I don't know. Again, I told Omar earlier. This one doesn't have a story. It has a plot, but there's no story. If you want to pull a story out of this, it's like teamwork
Well,
accomplishes things.
could it be like this and Avatar just made so much money? They're like, we feel like it should be on the list because,
Everybody was talking about it.
Box office success, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the cast was good. The whole cast was very good in the movie. And it
Yeah.
seemed Val
I mean,
Kilmer
Tom
back.
Cruise is acting. I don't know. I mean, he always acts the same. But he has some. Now, I thought about this like a few days ago. Like Tom Cruise is acting. I don't want to like it, but then if I think about some good movies that he made, like Vanilla Sky, Minority Report, I'm actually like, no, he's actually really good in those movies. So he can act. And
Well-
in this movie, he just acts as himself because Maverick is basically himself in a movie, like the kind of type of Sonny Boy. So
It
it's
could also be nominated because the history behind the movie. He kept pushing the movie back and back and back forward to hit movie studios to allow the movie studio to make some money off of it.
Because I feel like when someone says like best picture, like everything's hitting 100%. The script, the acting, the lights, like, and I bring up like lighting because House of Dragon, there were a couple episodes where it's like you couldn't see anything because the light was terrible. So it's one of those, I don't know, I guess part of me is happy that they seem to like trying to extend it to not just your typical Oscar movies. But this one, I'm still kind of shocked it was on, like, it's being nominated.
there could have been so many more different movies that should have been nominated instead of this one. James, you mentioned you watched Babylon, right? I haven't watched that
Yeah.
one, but you liked it. Do you like it
I
more
liked
than
it.
Top Gun?
Yeah, and more than the Fabelmans too. But because that one we deal with the history of Hollywood movies.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's some other movie. I tried to watch the movies for like best actor, best actress. I won't get through them. I don't think I will be able to watch like The Whale or there was one other movie that I didn't watch, Blonde. Like really don't have any interest in Marilyn. In another, I watched too many Marilyn Monroe movies. Like
I
10
did watch
years
that
ago.
movie. I would tell you, Ball hated that movie.
Okay. But yeah, I'm not gonna watch that one because I watched. Yeah, no, that's not the first time there is a movie about Marilyn Monroe, so I'm good on that front. But there is After Sun, there is Causeway. I watched To Leslie yesterday. All three movies should have been nominated instead of Top Gun Maverick. Like,
You know what? I'll say this: Glass Onion.
I haven't
Yeah,
watched that one, but I heard
that-
that it's
That
good.
was better than Top Gun.
I have not seen Top Gun, but I'm just going to put this out there. If you guys haven't seen The Outfit, it's very much a meme. It's a bunch of guys standing around over the course of a night talking. But The Outfit was a great period piece about gangland era Chicago. I really liked that one. Emily the Criminal. That one was.
I couldn't get
was
to
a
that
fun
one.
crime film.
I tried. No,
I enjoyed the like when I did my my hidden crime gems video, I talked about November and how there was some similarity there where it's, you know, a lot of my favorite crime stories are regular people who are sort of like thrust into a life of crime, and it's sort of that downward descent, kind of your like Breaking Bad sort of thing. And I enjoyed the Emily the Criminal for like that aspect, and just sort of like watching how she's sort of going with it, how her life is changing. I like Aubrey Plaza a lot too, so I was predisposed to like that one. But yeah, The Outfit. I haven't seen Top Gun, but I bet The Outfit is better than that one.
I was gonna say, I think the fact that we're naturally talking about other movies shows how we feel about Top Gun.
Yep. All right, let's jump to two more. Triangle of Sadness. So yes,
the best movie on the list.
same, definitely. Again,
I didn't like-
Banshees and Triangle
I
of
will say-
Sadness are both equal to me, but I had to pick one, and this one was a little bit faster paced. It had more issues it touched on than Banshees. Banshees was a very like specific character piece, perfectly done. But Triangle of Sadness just is done in 3 acts. Again,
Why triangle?
spoilers for
The three parts, say by a triangle.
Say it again. That's why the triangle. I didn't even.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. 3 parts, because they mentioned a triangle of sadness in his face in the beginning, so I thought it's connected to that, or the Bermuda Triangle, because they go on the cruise. I don't know where they go, but it could be in the Bermuda Triangle, so that's why I was like Triangle of Sadness, maybe because of that. Like, but that makes sense. The 3 parts. So yeah, the 3 parts being first part, they explore the relationship of young couples represented by Carl and Jaja's relationship with touchy subjects, gender roles, money, and love in general. And you think like you know where this movie is going, but no. Second part, they skip and they're on a luxury cruise, and kind of tackle a whole different aspect of social issues.
I'm not sure why Woody Harrelson was in this movie for. He didn't do nothing.
He was amazing in this movie. He has the funniest scene of all movies I've seen in such a long time. I had to leave the room, actually. My wife was in a meeting, and she told me to leave because I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I had to pause the movie. That's why I'm glad I didn't watch that one at the theater. I could pause it. I could resume it 10 minutes later after I had calmed down. But when he gets served that burger at the captain's dinner, it was just the epitome of like the build up before, and like him, this scene calling out all the BS that was going on. It's like when everyone else was getting sick and not only seasick, like the food had some role to play there, and he's like getting a burger with fries. He's like, I just don't like seafood. I still laugh about that scene. So I don't know. Woody Harrelson is like one of my favorite actors. Like, he wasn't in there for much. I agree. Like, he had maybe 20 minutes out of a 2 and
what's that?
or
Yeah.
movie. He was, for most time, was in his room and you could only hear him talking. I know it could be seen as like kind of the carrot dangling, like, hey, come and see Woody Harrelson in this movie. But I think the rest of the cast like completely carries this by themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need Woody to make this a great movie.
The favorite character was, is it I1? YA?
YA, I would say Jaja. Like,
I'm not. She was my favorite character.
she was great. Yeah. She reminded me of I don't know the name, but like in The Good Place. Everyone who hasn't watched The Good Place should
Series.
go and watch it. I forgot her name in this, but she reminded me of her.
Janet? No, it's Janet. Oh, so.
But like, it's an entertaining and funny movie. It might be too much on the nose for some. Maybe that's why it wasn't like mentioned more as in the run for Best Picture. But I think it might need some of the on the nose stuff. Is what makes it funny, right? Like, you have my brother, he used to work on a cruise ship, not one like that, not a luxury cruise. No. But it was in between. It wasn't like one of the Royal Caribbean cruises either. Like, it wasn't like the 5,000 people on the boat one, but it was also not one of the like 50 people, like the richest people in the world on a cruise ship. It was somewhere in between. I think there's like 300-400 people on a cruise ship. But this stuff is real. Like, you have the gap, and even in the crew, you have the Europeans, the white people. They're like a little bit better situated, where they have a room they only share between 2, getting paid a decent salary. That's why they sign up, right? Like, that's why they go and work on a cruise ship, because of the money. No one wants to be stuck on a boat for a year, and you have to sign up for a year. And then you have Vietnamese, Filipinos, that are working in the kitchen, that are working to clean, that hardly get any money, that are stuffed into like 10 people in one room, that do the same job. They just are treated worse because they're available for less, but they're on the same boat doing the same stuff. So seeing that aspect, I was totally reminded from based on when he told me, it's like, yeah, this is how this is. He told me like 5 years ago after he came back from the cruise, after that gig. And when I watched this movie, I was like, that stuff is real. If someone thinks this is too over the top, no, that's how it is. The same for the people that attended the cruise. Like, rich people act like that. There are people out there that act like that, that are exactly like the people in there. Obviously, later on, I don't know. It might be over the top for some, unrealistic. But then when they in the third part, and that's when this really takes it away from me. Like the first two parts already is like it's a great movie, but the third part, when they end up on that island,
it kind of like Gilligan Allen at the last part 3.
Say it again.
It kind of reminds you of the old TV series Gilligan Allen.
Oh yeah, Gilligan's Island. Yeah, for sure. When they end up on that island, and
All right,
the whole.
I gotta jump off, guys. I'll catch you later. Thorsten, talk to you tomorrow.
Yep, talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks for joining. When they are on that island, and now we can talk about spoilers because I didn't want to spoil it for Ben. But Josh, you care about watching? You care for watching it? And
He won't watch it.
Spoilers.
Triangle of Sadness?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So when they're on that island, the whole power dynamic shifts, right? Like after the boat is blown up, I didn't want to take that part because that to me was like, they're really doing this? They're blowing up the boat and sinking it? Like killing off 80% of the people?
Wow, that's a spoiler.
It's in the poster. Spoilers. It's in the poster too.
It's oh man. And so first that took me by surprise. It's like, okay, let's run with that. There's only like 6 people left or so, or 7. And the whole power dynamics shifts again is on the nose. Yes, we know rich people are bad. They're abusing the system. It's nothing new, but like I love when it shifts when Abigail is like, who's the captain? Like, I'm the captain now. Like I was waiting for that. Like that would have perfectly matched if she had said like, I'm the captain now, like in that Tom Hanks movie. But she doesn't go there. But it's the same, right? Like she's the captain now. She's the boss because she's the only one that knows how to make a fire, how to cook a meal, how to like take an octopus apart, how to catch fish. Everyone else is useless. So that kind of reminds you of, yeah, like societies are made based on the most valuable skill. So whatever construct we live in right now, whoever makes the most money, all the billionaires made it based on, I don't know, even skill, but like based on the opportunities that they were presented with, not caring about anyone else, and just going there. So on that island, when that shifts, I know it's on the nose, I know it's over the top, or too obvious. Like you don't need to be reminded to know it, but yes, maybe some need to be reminded. So I love that dynamic. And like, again, another donkey is being killed. That scene being
I forgot about that.
Funnier. Obviously that scene being way funnier than in Banshees, because yeah, no one wanted to see Jenny being killed. But just so many things. The amount of social issues it touches, it's entertaining, it's funny, and it needs to be on the nose.
I mean, you can rewatch that movie again and find new items, new stuff.
Yeah, and then what you said again, if some think that the behind the scenes stuff needs to push a movie over the line, come on, like I didn't even know, like you posted that on Discord, James. Yeah. So one of the lead actors, or like one of the actresses,
the main character, one of the main characters.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. So yeah,
I'll try.
Yeah.
Let me just. All right.
I have it here.
Chalby. I would say Chalby Dean Kriek.
Yeah.
I apologize if I didn't get it right, but yeah, she died after the. So
is that kind of oh, this is gonna be bad. But is that a spoil for the end of the movie because he died in real life?
I didn't want to say it because I thought it was bad taste, but
Yeah.
yes, and I'll get to that. I'll get back to that. So outside of the movie, so the actress, like the movie was done, it was released, I believe. They had even I saw press conferences with her being there, and then she died unexpected. Like I tried to find out why she died.
I think I read it, but I don't remember what it was. I think she was
So-
in a car accident at one time. It hooked inside of her body or something.
Yeah, it sounded so I had to piece it together. So she had a routine surgery that caused an infection. That because she had a car accident like 14 years ago, she had her spleen removed back then. So she was in a car accident, had her spleen removed 14 years ago. Because she didn't have a spleen anymore, that infection during the routine surgery caused death because the spleen couldn't produce the antibodies. Like kind of that it had to like, how unlucky can you be? Like like something that happened in like an accident you had in the past causes you death 14 years later.
If this was a plot in a movie, people would call bullshit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like when I read this, I was like, so did the car accident? But that was 2009. How can that cause her death? And I was like, oh, her spleen. And then now she had the surgery and got an infection. Like so many things had to go wrong, right? Like so the surgery, the infection, then not having a spleen, because there was a car accident. Like I think she was what, 32. So yeah, that
Yes,
and,
32.
and what you just said, like again, I didn't want to go there because it's to me it's
Yeah.
but yeah, since you mentioned it, so her character also, that's the open end in the end of the movie, right? Does she actually die? Is she being like, does Abigail kill her character? Does Abigail kill Jaja?
I thought that was an excellent ending, not knowing.
Not knowing, but I think it kind of like, I think there are two indicators that answer, but let me know first, what do you think? Does she die in the end or not?
Yes. She didn't go back, Abigail. She wanted to be on top.
Yeah, you can't go back to that. I mean, you would go back anyways. Like someone at some point will find out that they're in a resort and not on a remote island. But so Abigail in an interview said, like she actually asked the director if she's allowed to say that. And he said yes. And then she says, yes, of course, Abigail kills her. Abigail kills her the same way they killed the donkey, like with the rock multiple times until she dies. There's this, the other hint in this is when Carl, like Harris Dickinson's character, he runs to her aid, and he runs with a face that is kind of like stressed out. So he doesn't just chase them because he wants to catch up to them. His face and his race to find them sounds more like he heard Jaja, like probably either crying out for help, screaming as Abigail is like just throwing that rock down on her. And that's the other indication that like, yeah, probably Jaja dies at the end. Which in that case, though, Carl would find them. I mean, maybe he finds them, but yeah, he could potentially either find them or Abigail makes it back in time and says, no, I don't know where Jaja went. She went for a swim and never came back. So it's open-ended. But yeah, I agree. I like that ending. It leaves it open for interpretation. And then
I gotta go.
All right, Josh, take care. And we get to women talking. Again, that should have been a theater play.
That we must talk about.
No,
it's a debate.
It's a debate. I love to listen to the debate. It's a great debate. Should have been a theater play. And
it kept going back and forth the whole time.
Yeah, about how to form societies or how to make a decision. I got all of their points. I agreed to most of them. My only criticism of this movie is how did none of the men realized when they left? There was already daytime, and I get it's based on a book, so maybe in the book, I don't know, I didn't read the book, but maybe they left during the night or snuck out, or but even that, like none of the men realized they're leaving. They could just leave like that.
I think they kind of knew. I thought, and they got one. I thought they knew they were.
They knew and they didn't care,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
potentially.
Like they knew it. They knew they would come back.
Yeah. Potentially, I like the movie. It's somewhere in the middle, definitely better than Avatar,
Yeah.
Fabelmans,
I think
or
it was. Was it? Let me look.
Top Gun. But it's
Yeah,
also, I don't think it's a contender.
I put it number 3 on my list.
That's higher than I would have put it, but yeah. Where did you put Banshees?
Number 4.
Gotcha. And those were all the movies. Who made it through. So, James, in your opinion, who do you think should win? I mean, you already told me.
Triangle of Sadness, but
Yeah, I agree. Triangle of Sadness should definitely win this. It
I mean,
probably won't, unfortunately.
I could see Women Talking win.
Interesting. I wouldn't be upset if it won. I just don't think it will, because I think there's so many things against it. They're against all odds, against so many other movies. I don't think Women Talking has won Best Picture for any other awards yet. But that doesn't mean anything, right?
I
So
mean, everything ever wants to be nice, but I think it probably won't get close.
yeah, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once will win Best Picture. That's the least surprising. Like if anything else wins, I'd be surprised. And then depending on what wins, I'll be happy to be surprised, or I will be super disappointed if the Fabelmans, like at the Golden Globes, win for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't.
Or I mean, I don't think Top Gun has any chance, but if that wins, I lose all faith. But yeah, no, to me, it's Triangle of Sadness, Banshees of Inisherin, like they're probably equal, but again, like if I had to order it, 3 would be Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then I know your most hated movie, Tar, and 4, but yeah, definitely Everything Everywhere is the front runner. We'll see how it pans out on Sunday. We'll all join, or whoever wants to join on Discord in the voice channel. I'll be there watching the Oscars on Sunday. Can have I don't know how that will work out yet, like listening to the show while talking.
Will it be live on Hulu, or is it live on ABC?
I think it's on ABC, but if you have Hulu Live, you can stream it through them.
Oh.
Awesome. Any movies you think should, I mean, we talked about that briefly earlier, like
Babylon.
Babylon should be, I haven't
Yeah.
watched it, but I'll put it very high on my list of what to watch next, because I haven't watched that. So want to watch a couple of other movies before Sunday to just maybe have a better take on Best Actor, Best Actress.
I do want to watch Puss in Boots, the second one.
My kids watched that. I watched some scenes of it.
It's coming to Peacock tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to watch it.
I heard Pinocchio is the front runner for Best Animated one. It has won everything. I haven't either, but I heard that's the front runner for animated movie. But yeah, I think After Sun was very unique but good. Causeway was good. I was surprised by Jennifer Lawrence. Used to be a good actress. I didn't like her acting there too much, but it was still a good movie.
She haven't done much lately.
Yeah, I think that's by choice. That's like the Matthew McConaughey route. Like, I think she wants to redefine the roles that she's cast for. So by just being out of the business for a few years, you can do that, but you have to be away. So you're not getting the stereotypical like cast that you have always been. So I think she starts trying to redefine herself there. I haven't watched Living. Bill Nye is nominated for that. Maybe The Whale. Brendan Fraser seems to be the front runner.
I do want to see that one. Like, I do like Brendan Fraser.
did you like his performance in that?
I haven't watched it yet. I do want to
Oh,
watch it.
sorry. Okay, yeah, I want to watch that too because he's the front runner for actor in a leading role. Again, I think Barry Keoghan should win supporting actor in a supporting role. Actress in a lead role, Kate Blanchett, but I know Michelle Yeoh is up there as well. I have no idea why Frankie Corio isn't nominated for After Sun. I think she should definitely be in there. I think I mentioned it in Discord. I don't know if they wanted to protect her as a child actress. I think she's only like 13, playing an 11-year-old. So that might be a reason there. I think the last time a kid was nominated in such a category was what was it, the beast from the southern beasts, something like that.
I don't remember.
That was a good movie, but I think that was the last time a child actress was nominated for best role. And then you have the actress in a supporting role, which seems to be going to Jamie Lee Curtis, even though Angela Bassett for Black Panther is also in the
she's
talks for
really
that.
good in that movie.
Did you like that one?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Black Panther too. It was my best movie last year before I watched their movies.
Trying to find the name. Beasts of the Southern Wild from 2012. So that's 12 years because the movies came out in 2022. That was nominated, I believe, in 2013. I think it was the last time a child was nominated. But yeah, Frankie should definitely have been nominated for her performance in After Sun. That was one of the best ones, along with Kate Blanchett. But we'll find out on Sunday. Anything else about the Oscars, James? You want to?
I don't think I have anything. I think we went over everything.
Sounds good. Then
Yeah.
I'll stop the recording. We'll catch up with everyone who wants to on Sunday on how things actually pan out and go from there. Thanks for joining.
Anytime.